From superheroes to deep space sagas, there are few places in the universe that science fiction cinema hasn't taken us. But sometimes even our favorite films take us places we didn't necessarily want to go. We can be watching along, happy as Larry Fishburne, before a sudden shift in tone, plot, quality, or character takes us out of things completely. I'm Jess from What Culture, and here are the 10 most out of place scenes in sci-fi movie history. Number 10. America gets torn in two. Chappie. Longtime Blomkamp collaborator Sharlto Copley voices the titular character, a decommissioned enforcement robot and the first true AI, who falls in love with Di Antwoord of all people, reluctantly turning to a life of crime on the streets of Johannesburg. On this journey, America, one of Chappie's teachers and co-conspirators, teaches the young robot to wear bling, walk with an attitude, and put people to sleep. At least until the third act, that is, when Hugh Grant's villainous engineer, Vincent Moore, stomps him using his remote-controlled moose robot. In a sequence better suited to a Saw movie than this edgy yet frequently happy-go-lucky Genesis story, the moose grips America with a robot claw and tears him in half before splattering his torso on the building behind. Little in the film up until this point prepares you for such a grim and sudden death of a supporting character. Tonally, it doesn't match any of the action, emotion, or visuals surrounding it, and it leaves the audience reeling. The end of Chappie may bring the wholesomeness around again, but there's no denying how out of place this moment is. Number 9. Techno Diva Dance, The Fifth Element. 23rd century NYC cabbie Corbin Dallas teams up with Lilu, the embodiment of the sacred fifth element, to keep an ancient planet-eating cosmic force from destroying the world. Calamity ensues. While the film features many wild and wacky digressions, none are stranger than the space opera sequence. Corbin and Lilu follow a quest for some sacred stones, just go with it, to a blue diva called Plava Laguna. But before they can reclaim it, they, and we, are forced to sit through an excruciating few minutes of space opera. Techno music kicks in, the diva throws some shapes, and the audience cringe from behind their fingers. The scene is awkward, uncomfortable, and seriously out of place, which is saying a lot for a film with Chris Tucker's loud, flamboyant, intergalactic talk show host going down on an air hostess during takeoff. Number 8. Tri-Breasted Prostitute, Total Recall, 1990. Arnold Schwarzenegger stars as Douglas Quaid, a construction worker whose memory implant fantasy of being a secret agent on a mission to Mars seems to be coming true, blurring the lines between fiction and reality. Along the way, he encounters many wonders of a technologically advanced yet persistently unequal society, but perhaps none more striking than a triple-breasted mutant prostitute. Played by Lycia Naff, the futuristic lady of the night is offered up to Arnie by her pimp, and she opens her blouse to show him the goods, laughing like Janice from Friends. Now, far be it for us to poo-poo a bit of space nudity, but this scene feels shoehorned into the film. Unless there's a deeper, more artistic element at play that we're missing somehow? Unfortunately, no, I don't think so. This film establishes a pattern for the film where most female characters are presented as sexualized objects, ostracized freaks, or both. Naff came to regret taking the part as it left her feeling overexposed and deeply unsexy, and it isn't difficult to see why. Number 7. Elvis Shrine, Robocop 2. Peter Weller returns to the streets of a dystopian Detroit as Alex Murphy, the eponymous Robocop, taking on crime boss Kane and his designer, drug-pushing nuke cult, while also attempting to prevent psychologist Dr. Juliet Fax from creating another Robocop using a death row inmate. While pursuing Kane, Robocop tracks his gang to a warehouse where he uncovers the skeleton of one Elvis A. Presley in a glass case. That's right, the nuke cult have the remains of the king of rock and roll in their lair, alongside pictures of Mother Teresa, and deleted scenes reveal that they worship him as some kind of a god. Amusing though this is, the scene doesn't make any sense. How did they get him? And why Elvis? We may never know. Number 6. Jazz Dancing Emo Peter, Spider-Man 3. Sam Raimi may be back in the superhero fold with Multiverse of Madness, but let's not forget the film that got him kicked out in the first place, Spider-Man 3. Despite the film's inability to control its characters and narrative flow, it manages its tone fairly well. At least until Peter Parker gets infected by the Venom symbiote and things go a little odd. He's so bad, in fact, he's going to dance in the street like your dad at a wedding. Buying a black suit and dancing on the pavement, taking his girlfriend to a jazz club and dancing on the tables, and generally dancing his way into our worst Spidey-related nightmares. Peter goes full cringe in a sequence that is unforgettable for all the wrong reasons. Sure, this is Raimi's humor down to a T, but god damn it, Sam, there's a time and a place. Did this scene sound the death knell for the series? That's not for us to say, but what we can say is that Raimi was planning on making a fourth film and, well, that was 15 years and 2 additional Spider-Men ago. Number 5. Macaroni Cheese Cheddar Goblin, Mandy. Cage plays Red Miller, a lumber worker whose girlfriend Mandy is kidnapped and killed by a religious cult, and who therefore must enact a campaign of brutal vengeance. It's the 80s, the world has an ominous neon glow, and pretty much anything goes, whether that be chainsaw duels, coke-snorting demon bikers, or a green goblin that projectile vomits macaroni cheese. Trust me, this movie's really good though. The creepy little green guy appears on television during a tense and crucial point in Red's emotional journey, treating 2 children to some macaroni chunder. The scene is undeniably brilliant, but it comes at a strange time, right after Red has watched his beloved burn to death in front of him, and bears little resemblance to the rest of the film. But no matter how out of place he is, Cheddar Goblin will always have a seat at our table. Number 4. Shoehorned Joker, the Batman. Taking us back to Batman's early days, Robert Pattinson plays an unrefined junior bat who has lots of unresolved parent-based angst and only half a utility belt to help deal with it. As his opposite, Paul Dano is the Riddler, a genius incel with a chaotic plan to raise Gotham. Needless to say, Batman puts him in Arkham and throws away the key, but in one of the film's most jarring sequences, Riddler plays whispers with the inmate in the cell next door, Barry Keoghan's wonky-toothed yokel Joker. The deleted scene of Batman meeting Joker goes a long way to explaining why the Riddler-Joker scene exists in the first place, but the very fact that they didn't include the former should have seen the impetus needed to nix the Clown Prince of Crime's inclusion altogether. As it stands, the scene feels shoehorned in, serving no purpose other than to tease lucrative sequel bait. Worse than that though, it actually robs the Riddler of some of his mystique and has him playing subservient second fiddle to a character who isn't even in the film. Number 3. Girl Power, Avengers Endgame. Avengers Endgame brought the Infinity Saga to a definitive close in 2019, bringing the entire roster of MC heroes back to our screens to defeat Thanos. While the Earth's mightiest heroes triumphed, the film also delivered with many characters we'd spent the previous decade growing to love, including the original female Avenger, Black Widow. Thankfully, unlike a decade ago, there are plenty more well-developed female heroes to fill her shoes, and nowhere is this more apparent than in the film's final battle against Thanos. Unfortunately, the best and brightest at Disney and Marvel got together and decided the only way to showcase this was to have all the major female characters to assemble in a row in the midst of battle, trading lines to a swell of inspirational music. Host note here, I actually love this scene, but let's keep going. What's intended to be a badass female affirming scene comes off as the cheesiest, hammiest, most manufactured moment the MCU films have ever brought us. And that's saying a lot, considering some of them rely almost solely on cheese, gloss, and soap opera drama to pad their runtime. Number 2. Zion Orgy Rave, The Matrix Reloaded. The re-emergence of The Matrix has of late sent many of us down memory lane, revisiting 1999's stone-cold sci-fi classic and its sequels. After some initial wall running and gunslinging to sate fans' thirst for shiny leather action, the free people of Zion gather in an underground cavern so MC Morpheus can kick off the biggest rave the world has ever seen. Probably. Thus ensues a massive bodies bumping and grinding to some dirty beats, intercut with Neo and Trinity getting jiggy with it. The scene might better belong to Trainspotting or Human Traffic, feeling at odds with the tone and broader content of the Matrix films. What possessed the Wachowskis to include this goes beyond rational understanding. Perhaps one too many red pills. Number 1. Flying Space Leia, Star Wars The Last Jedi. Star Wars The Last Jedi, or Episode 8, depending on what neck of the woods you hail from, enraged some longtime fans upon release and pleased plenty of others, with director Rian Johnson and actor Kelly Marie Tran unfairly catching most of the flack. After Sith apprentice Kylo Ren launches an attack on his mother, Leia Organa's ship, Leia is blown out into space in a fireball of debris. So she's a goner, right? Wrong. After surviving for a good minute or so in the vacuum of space, her hand twitches, her eyes flick open, and she, force flies herself to safety. The power, the action, and the scene don't jive with anything in the Star Wars universe. Neither the lore, the canon, nor even the fundamental laws of chemistry, biology, or physics. We discovered in The Rise of Skywalker that Leia trained as a Jedi under Luke, and even has her own lightsaber. But this doesn't help land the whole space flying thing any better. If they could just zoom around the freezing cold void like Superman, why didn't Luke or Obi-Wan just zoom up to the Death Star's exhaust port with a thermal detonator suppository? That's the end of our list, but let me know down in that comment box what you think are the most out of place scenes in sci-fi movie history. As always, I've been Jess from What Culture. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. If you like, you can come say hi to me on my Twitter account where I'm at Jess McDonald, but make sure you stay tuned to us here for plenty more great lists.